I've had Doug pretty thoroughly in my head for the last few days because I was put in charge. Hi. He's at the bar. I was put in charge of making some music for this, and so I've been delving into roughly a terabyte of Doug's music, which you can imagine is a little overwhelming. I'm just, I'm like, whoa. Because he and I have really bizarre, or have strange and eclectic tastes. And, I'd be on the radio playing some seriously swinging jazz, and he'd call me up and he'd be like, man, this is off the hook, blah, blah. And so we were always all about the groove, Doug and I. He lived from July 19th, 1966, and passed at 12:50 a.m. January 7th, 2012. And some of us who are here tonight were there, and it was quite the experience if you've never been through that before. Just so you know, there are a lot of you who are here from fairly far away. I know that. Also, we're going to do Tony's going to do a little something that was written about Doug, and then I'd like to invite other people to come up with some stories, and feel free to come up here and tell them afterwards. And then we're going to do something rash and have music, actual live music, which is what Doug was all about, right? Hello.
Thank you.
And did anybody know a nicer guy? No. He would give you his shirt off his back. He literally tried to give me socks when he was in the hospital. He's like, dude, take these, man. These are great. I'm not kidding. Yeah. So, I'm just glad we can all be here together in honor of one of the coolest cats ever to walk the planet. Here's to our friend Doug, everybody. Lift up your glasses to the massive, fabulous Doug Frye. I'd like to bring up Mr. Anthony Bondi. Tony Bondi, get your buttons up here. Say something nice.
All right. It's so easy to say good things about Doug. So in conversation about what to say about Doug, with Justine and Marnie Lewis wrote this piece, which I thought to myself, and it looks like just about what any one of us might have written in the same way. So, and come out to this kid, Doug would say. And I doubt you're going to hear probably anybody else, over time, say as many times as Doug said to each of us, come out to this kid. That's a pretty remarkable thing. I'd get a call or an invite on Facebook to come check out a new band, a DJ, a venue, whatever he was excited about that day. He persuaded me to make the trip out because he knew I would just love this new band. And I knew I would too, just because Doug had made the suggestion that Doug had exquisite taste in music. His enthusiasm was infectious and would steal over me, convincing me that, yes, this band probably was indeed fantastic. Call it a talent, a gift, or a knack for sharing his passions with others. He did have his passions. He was passionate about music, culture, and, of course, his friends and loved ones. It imbued every aspect of his personality. He was steadfast in his desire to share new talent with the world, particularly local musicians, which went part and parcel with his enthusiasm for the arts. But he was also an anomaly. Doug wanted nothing more than to help others succeed in the arts and music, and yet fame meant not very much at all to Doug. It was all about the art, the talent, not the glory. A greater art advocate would be difficult to find. But yeah, Doug was definitely about the quality of the work. And I never seemed to surrender that. I don't think I ever recollect Doug saying I did a gig and I just didn't like the music I was playing. I don't think Doug, I don't know, does anyone have any recollection of Doug playing gigs that he didn't like?
No.
You know?
He didn't do it.
Very curious about that, you know? So we sat down and brainstormed about this eulogy the other day, and we talked about Doug, and over, and in all the stories, it came back to one word: hope. Doug was filled with hope. He often wore a small smile, his mouth slightly turned up at the corners, as if the world held its comedy for him privately. It was his smile and affection for life that would convince me the world wasn't as bad as I had thought. Genuine, sincere, intelligent, warm, funny as well. We would be hard pressed to name more dedicated friends. Someone that could stand by me despite any differences or arguments between us. I don't know. Don't recollect arguments with Doug. I'm sure somebody did, you know, and I bet he argued well, but I don't recollect disagreements very often. I could rely on him to tell me the truth, knowing that he cared enough to be honest, but would allow my ego to escape relatively unscathed. I love Doug's jokes. You know, he could joke pretty hard. That was good. I was pretty much enjoying the criticism Doug had to offer, because he could offer it well, carefully. I trusted him with my self-esteem, and he respected and nurtured it. His loyalty never wavered, and his sincerity never faltered. I don't recollect Doug acting like a fraud. That just isn't at all part of my memory of Doug. I admire that Doug was able to move through his life with grace. Doug did carry himself with style. He encountered obstacles that would have jaded many, and that's not even the worst of it. And yet he was able to lift himself above the hardships. He could have been filled with self-pity, but he chose to live in dignity and love. He encountered negativity and created humor, especially in so many places in Las Vegas. And he just kept doing it. He saw ignorance and brought forth compassion. He felt frustration and countered with patience. Doug lived with an inner strength that we all can only dream of enjoying as we did with Doug. My friendship with Doug is something I will hold within my heart. He gave so much of himself to everyone and asked so little in return. Likewise, Doug didn't take very much. I will be eternally grateful that I knew him, loved him, and that he chose me to be someone he called a friend. I'll miss you, Doug. And those are just so little bit of what we think about Doug. So if you're inclined to come up and speak for a moment or a day, come on up.
For those of you who come up, please introduce yourselves, because we might not all know you, and tell us where you're from if you came from far away or something like that. That would be great. I know this guy, Mr. Dirk Berman.
Did Ginger Brewer get sexier, or is it just me? Is it just me? I miss Doug terribly. This was a shock to all of us. And three of my favorite Doug stories. I tattooed in 1997. I gave him a Screaming Jay Hawkins tattoo, which Lux Interior probably took him on tour because of. So let's hear it for the crowd for Doug. Doug, he had a great sense of humor. He was a big part of the Vermin, and the whole scene. He always did our sound. He's someone that, it's just so hard to know what to say that Tony didn't just say. He was loved by everyone here. Ruckus has a great little tattoo of Doug right there. That's the most racist thing I've ever seen. And I was proud to do it. That's all I want to say. I love you, Doug. I miss you, brother. I hope you're in a better place. Certainly you're in a better place than we are right now. Let's hear it for Doug. Good night.
Jump up there, people.
Come on, Rob.
Let's go.
I right, first of all, I'd like to say that Lori,
There you go.
you're so amazing, and you're just as amazing as he is. And I have lots of unique stories that I could probably say about Doug. Because he was unique to everybody. He was amazing to everybody in his relationships with everybody. When I had my most emotional experience in my life, and it was apropos to have the art outside for everybody to color and make lots of beautiful colors and whatever they wanted to say about him. But when I had my moment with Doug, he sat for hours with me in color. And there were princess colors and everything. He was like, "What are you doing, Jerry?" And I was like, "I'm coloring. Don't knock it until you try it." But he sat with me for hours. And he visited with me, and he made me feel so good. And I think he's very lucky to have so many people who loved him so much. And I'm lucky to know all of you because of him. So thank you very much. Thank you for everything.
Yes.
We're waiting on you, brother.
Couldn't have, a couple more. You couldn't have done this first. You gotta make me do this now. I lived with Doug for about 15 years. Starting off over at the Canosa house, and then we moved on to Bonita. Lots of shit happened in that time, man. I can tell you, man. Late night jams at 4 o'clock in the morning. The neighbors, 50 Mexicans living in a house next to us, too afraid to call the police because they saw me and Doug walking out in the morning hungover. They're not fucking with those crazy gringos. But my favorite story of them, and I've told this a few times already tonight, whether he likes it or not, I don't give a shit, was one of Doug's birthdays. We were here, obviously, imbibing in lots of drugs and drinking our fucking asses off. We get back to the house. I had some ecstasy. Here, Doug, had some X, man. We both bought some X. On top of what we've been doing all night long. Doug disappears for like 20 minutes in his room. Comes back out, stark naked. Sits behind his drum set. And I'm like, "Doug, what's up, man? Doug." And he just starts laughing his ass off. And pissing all over his drum set. Me and Mike Granger are sitting there like, "What the fuck is he? Doug, what do you do? Doug, what do you do?" I'm like, "He's sleepwalking. Don't wake him up. He could kill us all." He ended up going to sleep, woke up the next morning. I'm like, "Doug, you might want to wipe down your drum set." "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "I pissed all over it last night." And then we told him he actually did it because we were still up. He was a special dude, man. He was a one-of-a-kind motherfucker, that Doug Frye. And just so a lot of you know, he didn't want anybody to see him in that condition. When it got to the end, it flat out, it was fucking ugly. Cancer's a shitty, horrible fucking thing. Thank God he only had to go through a little bit of it. You know, it went really quick. The people at Nathan Adelson Hospital or Hospice were absolutely amazing. They kept him very comfortable. Justine was there, Eric was there, Tony Bondi was there, Ginger was there, Lori was there. We were, you know, he had everybody that he needed. The friendship that he needed was there. So those of you that loved him, and Willie and Jerry were there too, those of you that loved him and wanted to be there, I'm sure he wanted you there too, but he didn't want you to see him like that, and he didn't need to see that. So I just want to make sure you understand that it was, you know, the past few weeks, if he was pushing you off, there was a reason behind it. He didn't want to put his friends through that. That's the kind of guy Doug was.
That's Doug, yeah.
So, love you, brother. I love you guys too, man. Thank you guys.
Doug when we were 19 years old and in the military. I knew him for quite some time, 26 years, through the good, through the bad. It was always funny, and it was always musical. My first impression of Doug when he walked into my room, him and my roommate had just gotten out of correctional custody. And because Doug didn't like the rules back then either, you know, none of it was good. So I meet Doug, and then it's like 6 months later, Doug's back in correctional custody. And so I get to go see Doug, because now we've struck up quite the friendship. And the first time I meet him, he walks in the room, he's like, "Oh, you play, huh?" Like, yeah. It's like, "Well, I do too." You know, and a black guy from Pittsburgh and a white dude from Texas, you never would have figured it would have worked out. But it did, and I've always loved Doug like a brother, you know, through good and bad. 26 years, you know, he's in my heart, he always will be. And I've seen Doug mad one time in my life, and it was one of the most spectacular incidents I've ever seen. He gets out of correctional custody the second time. And in the meantime, he brought this girl that he wanted to get with from Pittsburgh. He sneaks her into the dorms, and she's living with him for like 2 months. And Doug's roommate. So Doug gets thrown into correctional custody, and while Doug's in correctional custody, Doug's roommate and Doug's girlfriend kind of get together, and they set a wedding date. So Doug gets out of correctional custody, and he's a wee bit pissed off. So he's like, "Willie, come with me. I need to go to my room and get some stuff because I can't stand that bitch and that dude." We walk in the door, and who's in there? That gal and that dude. This guy, and Andy, he stands right up. Doug just square punches him right in the nose, man. And then just commences whipping his ass. Gets up, says, "I'm done here, let's go." And we walk out the door, and that's the only time I've ever seen Doug mad. But it was spectacular, it was all its glory. It really was. I never seen him so mad, and I never did again. And I will miss him tremendously. Love him like a brother, I always will. Thank you.
Come on, I know somebody's got some Doug stories. Get your ass up. Be bashful, motherfucker. Chuckles?
I got tons.
Get your ass up.
Come on.
Everybody else in the bar, shut up.
I got a little something.
Thanks, Frye. Go, Junk Wally. Go, Junk
All
Wally.
right.
Yeah!
Yeah!
Turn this shit up. But I got to meet Doug, like some of you here that I thought I would maybe never see again. That worked at the old 24 Hours record store down on Las Vegas Boulevard called Odyssey Records. And I rolled in there one day, freshly fired from a glorious job at Wet n Wild, and I met Doug. I met him like the first day I was there, and we just got to talking about music. I didn't play music, but he did, and my excitement about music was pretty epic, you know. Just I saw this guy, and he's like, "I play music because it's in my heart. I'm from Pittsburgh, and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here, but we should play music." And I was like, "All right, I'll try it." And I ended up having, you know, a career in music due to one phone call from him, which was, "Hey man, we got this fucking upright bass at Super Pump for $400. I was like, "Sweet, I just got this credit card so I could rent a car." And that was it. And a lot of stuff happened between there and then. But my favorite Doug Frye story is the time when, well, there might be two of them. But the time when we drove out to Lake Mead together and we put little square tabs of acid on our tongues, and he disagreed with me that the Beastie Boys were cool. And I was the one that was like, you know, I don't know, the Beastie Boys ain't that cool or whatever, but he's like, have you listened to Paul's Boutique? And I was like, yeah, sorta. And he was like, no. So he busted out this Pittsburgh-shaped boombox, put it on his shoulder, and like said, let's get in the fucking car, man. So we drove out to Lake Mead, which I'd never been to, and we put the boombox down, and it had an auto reverse. And it was a two-sided tape, and we played Paul's Boutique. And we started listening to it, and we wandered away from the boombox, and I was like, holy shit, this is great, man. I don't know if you could do this with samples, right? And I was like, yeah. And he was pointing out, like, which artists they were using. You know, that's a Sly sample, that's a James Brown sample, that's a Funkadelic sample. And he was just educating me on, you know, where that music that these guys were, like, remixing came from. And we eventually just lost the boombox, and we're standing there, and the thing's on auto repeat, running out of batteries, the tape starts to slow down, we're like, fuck, we gotta find this thing before the batteries go dead. Anyways, that was Doug. Like, I don't know if I'd be a musician if it weren't for him. And I thank him for that. So after all these years and after all these people like that are here and stuff, and I'm sorry, I'm going to pull up like a digital version of something that happened to me the night that I heard that he died. My good friend Willie here, he called me up, and we were on the phone throughout, you know, the last days, and you know, I was playing a show, you know, that night, and I thought for sure that like the thing would vibrate in my pocket or some shit like that, and I remember losing my mind. I don't know if any of you guys know who John Prine is, but he wrote this song called Fish and Whistle, and I decided to smoke weed at set break, and I couldn't help but think about anything but Doug, and I fucked up. My band was looking at me funny, and I was like, fuck, like I thought maybe he had passed at that moment, but it turns out that he had passed a little later in the evening. So I'm standing there looking at this very thing, and I'm showing a picture that my friend Leo, that you guys might know, sent to me, and Doug's face was there. I was describing what an amazing fucking guy this guy was, and it just turned into Willie's phone number, and he told me what happened. It was really tough. But when I got done making the phone calls to the people that I wanted to find out, and I wanted them to, you know, to find out, like, not from fucking Facebook or some bullshit email or any of that shit. I wanted to fucking call everyone that I had the number for, that knew him and loved him, and try to tell him personal, because I was lucky enough to get told personal. And when I was done with that, I walked up the stairs to this band house that I was staying in, and this kid that I never met before, he's like, hey man, you need to hear a poem, or do you want to hear a poem? And I was like, fuck yeah, I want to hear a poem, man. And I know this isn't a place for fucking poetry, but I'm going to read y'all this poem, because when I read it, it just spoke of Doug. So here I go, I'm going to be done. I fucking am so happy and to see all of you people that I haven't seen for so long, and I know we all barely recognize each other and shit, but like, I'm gonna do this and I'm out. It goes like this. Very near my setting sun, I bless you, life, because you never gave me neither unfulfilled hope, nor unfair work, nor undeserved sorrow, because I see at the end of my rough way that I was the architect of my own destiny. And if I extracted sweetness or bitterness of things, it was because I put sweetness or bitterness in them. When I planted rose bushes, I always harvested roses. Certainly winter is going to follow my youth, but you didn't tell me that May is eternal. I found, without a doubt, long my nights of pain, but you didn't promise me only good nights. In exchange, I had some peaceful ones I loved The sun caressed my face. Life, you owe me nothing. Life, we are at peace.
Hi, my name is Michelle, and I'm trying to think of a story to tell that doesn't completely incriminate Doug or myself, so I'm going to choose to incriminate myself as opposed to incriminating Doug, which, I mean, we all know what Doug was like. So I can tell you the story of when I first met him. I met him, but one of the first people I met when I moved here 16 years ago, and he was a bartender at the Wet Spot, but they had to change the name to the Wet Stop. Yeah, I know a lot of you remember that bar. Doug always referred to me as, he introduced me, he had this thing about calling me Shirley Feeney, which I never quite got, but he would call me, he's like, you're like a naughty Shirley. So when I would meet people like that, I'd be hanging out with Doug, and he's like, oh, this is Michelle, this is my naughty Shirley Feeney. And then he would go into a story of calling me his first and official stalker. Apparently he had many other stalkers that no one ever really knew of, and I didn't exactly stalk him, I just hung out at the bar a lot because he gave me free drinks. But I thought he was really super charming and a great guy, and I thought he was very, adorable, and it was always this ongoing, still, the last time I saw him, actually, Leo was giving him shit, like, dude, would you stop telling that stalker story for fuck's sake? And, Doug was like, dude, she was my first stalker. And then Leo's like, well, where are your other stalkers? And so it was our thing. I was his first stalker, and then I was the naughty Shirley Feeney, which I still have never quite gotten, the Shirley Feeney thing, but he insisted, like, he had this, I don't know, maybe he had the hots for Shirley Feeney, I think. So, but I'll tell the incriminating story of me to leave him not, to look graceful, and then I'll look like the ass. So there was a night that we were hanging out here, and so as Doug in his mind thinking I'm his stalker, I was like, hey, do you want to go with me to my apartment? And he's like thinking, cool, I'm going to get laid by this crazy little redheaded, drugged up chick. So we go to my house, and I go into my room, and then he sees that I'm not going to go into too much detail about what I was doing, but it had to do with methamphetamines, and I just will go no further into exactly what was going on. But imagine scaring Doug to the point where he's sitting in the corner in the fetal position, like frightened, like he was mortified, like he couldn't believe what he saw. And he's thinking like, I'm gonna get laid, and then he sees like what's really going on. He's like, oh my God, this girl is like a hardcore drug addict, and we came here so she can get high. And he was really, really frightened. And so like this tiny little redheaded girl, like, had frightened, the almighty cool, like, nothing can fuck with me, Doug. But he sat in the corner of my living room, like, hovering, just scared on the floor. And then I went back out, and I was like, you want a Xanax? You look like you're freaking out. Should we leave? And he was like, I really just think I want to go home, but I don't know if you should drive me. And I'm like, you want to stay here? He's like, no, let's just leave. Let's go. I was like, do you want a Xanax? He's like, yes, please. But Doug saw me at my absolute worst. I have, many of you in here, a few of you know, I've had some very dark days, years, whatever. On and off. So Doug saw me at my absolute worst and never judged me, never thought that I was, he may have thought it was crazy, but he thought it was hot. But he was never too cool to talk to me. He was never too good, never like, this chick's never gonna put out, I don't have time for her. He still, relentlessly was like, someday she'll give in, and, He was always like amazing. Every time I saw him, we were just so excited to see each other. It was like going into the Tiki Lounge at 4 in the morning and seeing Doug. I was like, bonus, like Doug's here, that's awesome. And we would just sit in the corner and talk for hours, and we'd pretty much just be like making fun of, like my ex-boyfriend would be there, we'd be making fun of him, and then we'd be making fun of pretty much like everyone around and just sitting there talking shit but in a fairly nice way. We're like, we're not being critical, no, but that person kind of is an ass, right? So, like, and you know, and we just had a very unique bond, and he never judged me. He never, as frightened as he was that night, and you know, and then he called me a tease because I was his stalker, and I never ended up putting out. And,
Doug is amazing!
He was, we all know, like, no one will ever be who he was, no one will ever replace him, no one will ever even come close to comparing to who he was, and a lot of us, many of us had our own Doug bond, and Doug and I had a very unique, special bond, and we were a lot closer than people knew. We weren't just party friends, like we were friends. He was always there. He always had my back. I mean, I'd show up at the bar, wasted. He's like, "What do you need? Do you need some Coke? Do you want another beer? What do you want? Like, what can I do for you? Do you want both? You want a drink? You want some more blow? What do we need? What do we gotta do here for you?" He just always took care of me. He made sure I was in good hands. He never let me leave with people I shouldn't be with. And if I was with douchebags, he made sure the douchebags went away, and I stayed with him until I was good to leave. And he always took care of me no matter what. I don't know what else to say. I'm heartbroken. And we love you, though. We miss you so good. Thank you.
Hey, my name's Adam. I'm actually here to speak on behalf of two people that can't be here right now. E-Rock used to be a bartender here, and his girlfriend Jen. They just wanted me to share their feelings of love and loss with everybody. And, you know, just wish they had some stories they could be here to share with everybody. And as far as myself, they broke the mold after Dougie, and I think you'll all agree no one will ever be like him again that you'll meet in your lifetime. And I like to think that he'll be up there jamming with Screaming Jay Hawkins, and that's the way I'll keep thinking about Dougie. And I'm proud to say I was cock-blocked by him. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hi everybody, my name is Tony James. If we're all here for Doug, say hey! That's what I'm talking about. Doug and I were like cousins. And yes, we were. I met Doug in 1997, and I looked at him and I said, "You look just like my cousin David. You have to meet David." Well, my cousin David died in 98, and I went to Doug and I said, "My cousin died, the one that you look like." He said, "Don't worry, Tony, I'll be your cousin." And ever since then, that's the truth. Ever since then, we always called each other cuz. And it was always a great thing. Now, I'm not a redhead, and I can't share those stories that she just said. Oh, Lord. Girl, you talk too much. What do you want? You telling no shit, girl. Go to your grave with shit. Talk about my cousin shit like that. He's my cousin. Now, you all know I do drag, and I've been doing drag a long time in this city. And Doug appreciated that about me, had nothing to say bad about it at all, had nothing to do with our friendship. And that's why I love Doug. He never judged me about anything. Yeah. At all. That's my cuz. That's my cuz. The story I have to tell you about Doug is one morning, oh yeah, somebody got their bicycle stolen outside, and we saw it happen. And Doug said, "Oh my God, that's my friend's bike. Tony, where's your car?" I went, "Right there. Let's go find that motherfucker." I'm like, "Really? Really?" Okay. Jumped in my Mercedes. We tracked that motherfucker down and got that boy's bike back. Yes, we did. We did that. And that was because of Doug. Because I was like, "You got my back, right?" And he was like, "No, you got mine." I said, "No, I got yours. You got my back. You got my back. You got my back. I got your back, man. We got you." Anyway, everybody's all about Doug, right? Woo! All about love. I love you, cuz.
And nobody wants to follow Tony, man. Hi, I'm Dave, and I'm a Dougaholic. How are you? All right, first off, Doug would have been so pleased that Tony Bondi did his eulogy. It's insane. Doug did the best Bondi of all of us. Right? And I was probably going to go, yeah, it's just so awesome. You know? I'm sure it's like Doug's up there. He's just like, yeah, that guy's got to do it. So, all right, so there's a million stories of Doug helping everybody out. I mean, there was never a time when you needed something, if Doug was in earshot, that it wouldn't already be in the process of happening. Everyone who's had a gig, I got that cable at home, I'm going to go get it. I mean, he was already gone before you could even look for the cable. He had it, the cables, the pedals, whatever you needed, he was going to set you up. And when I had my ill-fated foray into bandness, I found that out, and everybody already knew that. So same thing with the spoken word stuff at the Tell. He did our sound. He always made it happen. So whenever Doug would come to me, I'm a lawyer, with his myriad of traffic problems, I would always take care of that for him. Yeah. So Doug, I always told Doug that he had to be the worst driver of all. I certainly have done pretty much for every bartender here at the Double Down, and if you add them all up together, that is less tickets than Doug Frye had. So, and I'm like, "Are you just a really shitty driver?" And he's like, "Look, I'm black, so I already am starting 10 feet behind everybody else. And I'm on somebody's target list, and apparently Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department needs my money more than anyone else's." So, and then he would let it go for a little bit. He'd be embarrassed to come. I'm like, no, and he'd have bench warrants and all that other crap. So all the money would always add up. So he picked up like 3 in a row this last year, just boom, boom, boom. And he came to me, he's like, "Dude, it really sucks. I don't know." So, took care of it. And then I was like, good, got Doug off the plate. And then boom, Doug comes back in and goes, "Man, I got another one." I'm like, "Huh." So the last one we did trade out for doing the sound. And then he comes in with the fucking third one, right? And he's like, "Yeah, and it's gonna warrant, I don't know what to do." So this was like probably about 2 months ago. So I went in, but I couldn't get it squashed all the way. So there's still like a $400 fine on it. And I just didn't want to tell Doug. It's like I couldn't get it because it's just so many. I can't get them gone away. Anyway, Doug fucking dies owing them $400, and they're never gonna get it. So, when I go in, because I gotta go in one last time for Doug to get it tossed. I'm gonna be smiling the Doug smile that everyone knows. It's just like, "Fuck you, didn't get it. Fuck you." That's what I.
Hi, my name's Bob. We all love Doug. I'm not going to tell a Doug story. I'm just going to say this. 3 fucking hurrahs for Doug. Are you guys ready? 1, 2, 3. Hurrah! 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 Fucking love you, Doug.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? So I guess I'm Diego, and I know.
Good guess.
So So I guess I didn't know Doug maybe as long as all of you did, but I've known him for maybe like 10 years. So I've played a lot of music with Doug. I've talked about music almost every single time I've been with Doug. So I don't know if you guys know. Well, I'm sure you all know. Doug's just like a freak about music, about strange music too. Yeah. And so he's always turning me on to like King Tubby and the Meters. And, you know, it's always a conversation about this band, Autolux, the Melvins, and it's always about music with Doug. I think there's not even another like black guy musician that I know who likes as weird music as Doug.
You said black. I didn't say that, man.
So one time Doug played a show with me and Angel at the Beauty Bar. With my band Dopamine Flux, and I remember he was just so nervous. I don't know why he's nervous because he was such an excellent musician. You know, he's really good at bass, incredible at drums. He's probably one of my favorite, like, most humble musicians in Las Vegas.
Right.
And he was like super nervous in my garage. Like, we're talking about the set, and we really just like kind of drilled him on the songs right before the show. He really did not want to play the show because he wasn't really comfortable with the songs. He made us go through our set 5 times. I've never had to do that before in my entire life with anybody. But he was just so nervous and just like, he really wanted to nail it, you know? Because he just loved funk music. You know, he loved Blowfly. He loved the Flash Express. He loved, you know, he just wanted to do something like, make it really funky. I think I have footage somewhere. Maybe I'll put it online. But, yeah, I'm gonna miss Doug a lot, man. And, you know, even though I don't know a lot of you, but I'm sure he touched all of you in a different way. And I just really am gonna miss that guy, so yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
We hung out backstage, ate their food, drank their liquor, and brought 2 of the other guys down to the Double Down for the Unique Massive show. And the guitar player and the drummer sat in the Unique Massive after the show because Doug hooked that shit up and made it happen. You know, one of the typical things he would do, and it was just hysterical that I told him, I said, man, I can't believe you saved the Fishbone show, and he told me, swear to God, he goes, shh, I hope this is the last time. He had done that shit before, and they were like relying on him to get it done again, like, oh, Doug's in Vegas, hey, we're Doug, we need a long voice and shit. He makes it happen. Because he wanted to show you one, and he was tied with Fishbone, so that's how it went. That was less than a year ago, last February.
Doug brought us all together many times. I wouldn't know hardly any of you if I wouldn't known Doug Frye. If there was no Doug Frye, there wouldn't be no Brahim the Dream. I wouldn't have got those calls because he had something better to do, and he told Ruckus and Gary and Willie to give me a call. We were really good friends. I'll never forget him. But the gift that he gave to all of us, and we're here right now, we know this, is to bring us together and never let that stop. There's a real big thing happening that we might have overlooked, you know? It's just that simple. And that was his gift, and that's all I really can say because I miss my brother very dearly. And I hope all you guys are here for the same reason. We miss our friend, and we're here for a celebration of life. And you guys have helped me through a lot of things just by being nice to each other. That was something that Doug did too. He was always nice to one another. Thanks.
I'm not sure if it was William's car, but there was a Galaxy 500 in this picture at some point, right? And Doug's driving. And he's like, finally, I'm going to come and pick you up. You know? And we're going to go hang out and do something. So while we're getting on the freeway going the wrong way, You know, that Decatur weird thing up by, it was like Decatur and I-15, that weird thing they did. We got on there going the wrong way. But we were listening to Bill Frisell or something. He was like, Doug, what are you doing? Dude, you're trying to just check this out, man. Well, Doug, you're going the wrong way on the fucking freeway, bro. The freeway. But, you know, so Doug took, I remember the best thing is like, you gotta come down to 28th Street and hang out with me, but you gotta leave before 5 o'clock because you're not, you know, you gotta get the fuck out of here. But I did it, and I spent so much time with that guy, and so much music, so much whatever, you know, you guys all know, fucking A. I just got one thing to say. His name's Doug Frye, and he's a hell of a guy. He's like no other guy I know. He's sweet and petite, he's got lips and feet, and he's our own private Idaho.
Are we done with people? Are we? Because we have music coming up. Yeah. Okay. You have one more?
Hey, none of you motherfuckers got something to say.
All right, I'll say something.
There you go. I see you, Leo, too. Get your ass up here. I know you got some shit to say, man.
Leo, you getting out?
Motherfuckers. Hey, my name's Angel. Yeah, after when I moved to Vegas, Doug Frye was one of the first motherfuckers I met, you know, by chance. We were at the fucking the Kappa Sizzle Phi Alpha, the New York Cafe, whatever. And he was like, hey, man, you're a cool motherfucker, man. Why don't you swing by my house, man? And took me through his neighborhood, ended up being in the house of Bonita. And as soon as I walked into this place, man, I knew that this place had some fucking character, man, you know what I mean? Because there was Raheem chilling on the couch, watching some obscure shit on the fucking TV. And then this motherfucking ruckus comes out of fucking nowhere. He's like, hey, man. What's up? And I was like, God damn, who's this short motherfucker with the deep ass voice, man? Shit scared the fuck out of me, man. Shit was a trick. You know? Motherfucker, this is crazy. But anyway, man, by the end of the night, he's like, hey, man, you can come by anytime, man. You know, you can jam, blah, 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 anytime, man. And I was like, all right, I appreciate that, man, because, you know, I don't know anybody out here, and I knew that he was very down to earth, and he was very, you know, open, and he invited anybody to his house, which was cool. So that gave me that opportunity to go, you know, just to return the favor and tell him, yeah, I'll be back, because I know you're a crazy ass Negro.
I wasn't going to get up here because I really hate your speaking voice. But I'm a musician. I think I met Doug across the street. There was a golf night. It was called Sanctuary. I would go there and hear some people have been there. It's gone now, but those were good days. It was Wednesday night. I could go and get blasted drunk and dance for myself, and nobody would talk to me. And that's what I like. I would dance and dance and dance. You know, until I pulled things and sweat a lot and hurt myself. And I remember, and unfortunately, I cannot remember the other person, but Doug used to come there. And I would always, towards the end of the night, spot him a little bit. And I have a bunch of, my Doug stories are weird. Like, over 10 years ago, he helped me get some blow out of a pool table that I lost. And he was like, could you help me? My friend lost something in the table. Two guys are like shaking the pool table. That's not life. Right! That's a friend. Doug also used to sit with me in my car in the parking lot while I cried during my dark times and listen to Tool until I was done and be like, alright, okay, looks like you're done now. Alright, let's go get a drink. That was it. It was okay, you didn't beat it, you didn't stop it, you just let it happen.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. And Doug was my ally. And I know that he would defend my difficult personality when I wasn't around. I know that for a fact. Yeah, and I love him and all his songs. But I also wanted to say that a bunch of people helped put this together, and I am terrible, I'll forget names. Marty, Tony, my husband supported, Doug Devlin is filming, and I know I forgot people and I apologize. So, Ginger, I could not have done this without Ginger. She is master of all ceremonies, don't forget it. Which means she gets to charge you more. And of course, Ruckus. Ruckus is the master of managing events that are always going to fall apart and you put them back together anyway. It is like magic. Thank you, Rob. And to the eight of us who were there at the end of Doug's life, I want to say that I'm glad that I got to have that experience with all of you, and I learned something from each and every one of you. It was taxing, it was heavy, it was a lot of things I can't think of words for, and I'm glad that part of it was that I got to be there with Doug, because when he started to suffer more at the end, I felt like I did some good by holding his hand and talking to him, even though I really had no idea if he was conscious of my presence. So, and I'm glad that this is happening and everyone in this room is together because it feels good and it feels right and it feels like Doug, and I know for sure that if he were here, he would be surprised and grateful for our presences. So, I don't know who's going to talk after me, but I want everybody to have a good night out and have fun, because that's what Doug wanted. And get really drunk and make out with the asphalt, or whatever you do. And here comes Tiffany. She's going to speak next.
Okay, I don't really have like a great funny story, but something I thought was really cool that actually happened today, which I felt that Doug was speaking to me indirectly, but to everyone as well. So most of you who knew Doug knew that he was a major Fishbone fan, as am I. And so aside from that fact, him and I had a couple personal Fishbone stories that we shared together, things that happened hanging out with the band. So throughout our friendship, there was a lot of Fishbone talk and telling our stories to others of things that happened with us and Fishbone. So when the DVD came out of Fishbone's newest documentary, or their only documentary, Everyday Sunshine, Doug was the first to get a copy of it before it was released. And it was only being shown at film festivals and whatnot, and came right to me. Tiff, man, I got Everyday Sunshine, you gotta see it. And I was like, no way. And it's like, yeah, let's get together, let's watch it. And I was like, all right, trying to get it together, whatever. Finally, I ran into him one night, he happened to have it on him, and he just hands it to me. He's like, here, Tiff, you watch it. I was like, Doug, I'm not going to watch this without you. I got to watch this with you. And he's like, all right, well, you take it, and you call me when you want to get together and watch it. So took it home, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make a little something out of this. And I put together like a movie theater style night on my big screen TV thing with like 20 people that I knew that loved Fishbone, that like were like true lovers, and that were friends of Doug, excuse me. And surprised him with that, and I was like, all right, Doug, I invited a few people over. Come on over. Came over, and it turned out it was the most amazing thing, beautiful night. The documentary was awesome. He thanked me up and down. That was so cool, you Tiff, man. I knew you would handle it, and this and that. So when I woke up today, and I got on my email, because he kept telling me after we watched it, you gotta get on the mailing list. And I was like, all right, I'm not really on the computer much, but sure, whatever. Today when I woke up, first email is from Fishbone. Today was the nationwide release of Everyday Sunshine. It was on at 9 o'clock on public television, and I just was like, chills everywhere, just wow. I really was like, Doug just spoke to me, and I was thinking that maybe if it were possible, we could have turned some of it on here tonight, but obviously we have our beautiful videos that everyone made, and so I just thought that was really awesome. And I do have a lot of other stories I could share, but I think I might fall out tears here, but I just wanted to tell you that. So if you haven't seen that, you got to watch that on Doug's behalf, because it's an amazing documentary, and wouldn't have seen it without him. So.
Hi, my name is Brian Kirsch. Most of you probably know me as Sterling. I grew up in Las Vegas. I moved to the Bay Area, and I came back home in 1994. I met Doug. I can't say that I had any really earth-shattering time. I met him. We had kind of like a casual friendship. We kind of went in and out. We would see each other and hang out, this and that. We didn't really hang out a lot like these guys did and stuff like that. But we played shows together when I was in other bands. My granddaddy's a Chris Funk used to own, formerly Cameron James. We shared that with Los Tours Now, Experts on October, and Penny Stack Dragonfly, and other shows. But I had to get out of the scene, because I had problems. And so I'd come back every now and then. I still live in Las Vegas, and I'd kind of show up, and everybody's, oh my God, you're still alive. And I'd run into Doug, and I'd say, oh man, you're still around, We'd hang out and stuff. I could play in bass, so I got out of the music scene and became a music professional, got straight. Last time that I hung out with Doug was about 2 years ago with Michelle, that she gave a little rant earlier. And we ended up over at Tony Bondi's house. I was telling you this the first Friday, last month. And it was really interesting. We were drinking. I haven't been drinking for a long time. And we went over there, and Doug had some really good weed. I hadn't smoked in a long time. And we're hanging out, and he was house sitting in Tony's house. Beautiful house, Tony. And we ended up on this rectangular pool out there. And evidently, I don't remember, but apparently I passed out at the pool. And Doug and Michelle were making fun of me. He's like, dude, remember back in the day? It was like all night. And there he is. He's asleep. He's passed out. And that was the last time I saw Doug. I love Doug a lot. He's a great guy. And he always said, he goes, dude, why aren't you playing bass anymore? And because I got out of the scene, I had to do other things to get my life started. And I'm just going to love it.
All right, I'm looking at everybody. My name's Checo, and I've known Doug for a while. I liked fucking with Doug. I like fucking with people, but Doug in particular because I had a relationship with Tony. So I would prank call. I like prank calling.
Oh, Doc, come on. You know what? I got to schedule together. I need you to come down here right away.
Checo, you can't fuck with me, dude. I'm like, come on, dude, just go with it. I mean, make me feel good, dude, because if anything, this is what made Doug so rad, is that when you would see him in person, was that smile. That smile was fucking awesome. And I just want you to think about Doug. I got to see him a few days, 2 days before he left, and that was a shitty thing. But the thing is like, I made this flyer for him, and I went down online and I found all these people that had the same name, all these white guys, and that were balds. So I put all these afros on them and I made this flyer and it said, "There's only one real Doug Frye." And it was Doug Frye, and he laughed. And to me, to see those teeth again, I was like, everything just, what was there in front of me, I got to see Doug Frye again. And just remember that smile, you guys, and continue that smile. And look at all these people. Half of us don't know each other, but look how he brought us together. He's like fucking Gandhi. He's like fucking Hendrix, Billy Cobham, all his heroes. He was that guy. And let's continue that spirit with our family and friends. Things are getting crazy, but if we continue that spirit that Doug had, things will be awesome. Have a good night.
All right, who feels like hearing some music? I think it's fabulous that we're all here together, and I think we should all keep telling stories to each other all night long, because damn it, that's what we can do here at the Double Down. I personally am kind of glad we ended up here, because I don't know about you, but I'm comfortable here. You know, I'm comfortable here. Yes. Okay, so I know many of us think that the year 2012 got off to a kind of a shitty start. Perhaps. We are lucky. You know why? Because there's a new year starting today, the Chinese New Year, the Year of the Dragon. And we get to have a reboot! Yay! So everybody, drink like a dragon because you're fucking thirsty. Here's to Doug! All right, music is coming.